We're all back. So we're all here now?
We are. Be on the lookout for Renee.
Yeah, funny, I haven't seen this movie in years, but when some of the songs came on, instant memory pops back in. And, I definitely remember some of the lines. It's funny, like, I guess when I first saw it, I wasn't really in the business, but now I'm deeply in. I have so many questions, obviously, we'll wait till Renee pops in where I can ask her. But let's talk. Michael, you're in his movie. It was good seeing you. Michael was a producer of the movie. Let's start off with the concept. This was your first feature film. And, talk to me about the concept of putting this together.
Let me just say, Renee's backstage, Wilson. But go ahead, Mike.
Okay.
So this was Christine's thesis film for NYU Graduate Film School. And most film students do a short film, but Christine had this concept to do All About You, which is this. I mean, it's just watching it again. It's really nice to see, and to see how it holds up, and to see how many people still embrace it. So we just went for it. She had this great script, and we cast these phenomenal people, Terron and Renee and the other cast members, and we just went for it. Kind of flying blind at times, but it was definitely this family affair, and we really enjoyed doing it. And can't believe here we are 20 years later. Hey, Renee.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Renee.
Hi.
Joining us, Tony Award winner Renee Elise Goldsberry. Welcome.
It's good to see you guys.
You too. Like I said, the beauty about this movie and the tough thing about this movie is that you wrote a film that involves comedy. You have the story, and then you have the music. And as I'm reading throughout the comments while the movie's playing, that the music was written for the movie. So, which came first? Who can answer it in terms of, like, did you have half a script, send it to Terron and Renee, and they put in the music?
No, I had a full script with the story fleshed out. What ended up happening is, as we went through the process of shooting the movie, we lost songs here and there, and I needed songs to add in, and I needed songwriters. And fortunately, I'd cast two of them. And I think because they related so well to the characters, I think they intuitively kind of knew the direction to take the songwriting.
So before I go in and bring in Terron and Renee, talking about bringing them on, this was Renee's first feature film, and Terron had done some work, but, like, where did you find them and, cast them as the leads?
Well, we first found Renee. I remember Christine and I remember when Renee walked into the audition room, she just had something about her, like this X factor. And we were praying that she could sing.
Yeah.
Because we were trying to cast an actress who can also sing. And she performed this Anita Baker song and blew us away. And we knew even before she left the room that she had to be Nicole. As far as the Brian character is concerned, we had a lot of people interested in that role, from Eric Benet to Brian McKnight. And Renee brought Terron to our attention. And so we watched his movie, The Temptations, the miniseries, and said, okay, well, let's bring him in. And Terron came into audition. And I'm going to tell the story, Terron, because Terron, there are a lot of haters in the audition waiting room. And so they told Terron, why are you here? They already cast Brian McKnight. And so Terron came in thinking that he was wasting his time. Why are we seeing him? We already have someone else in mind. But that wasn't true. We were really interested in seeing if he could do this role. So Terron came in, blew us away too, but it wasn't until Terron did a concert. And the reason we went, because Renee was singing at that concert too. So
singing backup.
That's right. She was a star, and we wanted to see Renee perform on stage. But then we were overwhelmed by Terron. He was just this different animal on stage, just electrifying. So we brought Terron back in, and then the chemistry that they had and some of the comments we've seen tonight was just phenomenal. And I think God just worked it out where it had to be Terron and Renee in this.
Well,
Renee, wasn't I helping you with the sides or something before? No, I thought I was like helping her or something before I even.
He's always helping me. Terron and I have been friends for years. We used to sing for Disney together, actually, not, in a movie or anything like that. We used to do a bunch of different kind of gigs for Disney. And I was working on one with him, and Terron had an audition he had an audition for some kind of film or television, and I was helping you with your lines, auditioning for film and TV. And I was just basically trying to help you memorize it. And you were like, "You're kind of good at this. You need to be acting, Renee." And the next screen, I actually had an audition for this movie, and I got this part. And they came to see me sing backup for you in your show. And when it was over, they were like, "I think that's Brian." There he is on stage praising the Lord. I mean, it was really, it was kismet. Really kismet.
Yeah, thank God I had no idea.
But Renee, this was your first big role lead. Was it daunting knowing that it's you and Terron carrying the film? And I know I'm looking at your background. You were singing backup, I guess, on Ally McBeal.
Yes,
but here, this center. What was it like for you to audition and then get this role?
I remember I was just sitting in my house in Los Angeles doing God knows what, maybe taking care of my dogs, and the casting director for Pamela. I just called my house because I didn't have an agent, I didn't have anything, and she was like, I'm calling for Renee Goldsberry for and I was like, for what? And she was like, for an audition. I was like, for what? She was like, a feature film. I didn't even know what she was talking about. And she was like, it's the lead in a feature film. I was like, oh, okay. So I went to this audition, and when I got this job, I actually went to see an acting coach. I had already been, I'd been acting. I had just been taking a break. I was trying to get a record deal. And I was doing a lot of singing. And I went to an acting coach when I got the lead in this movie. And I worked through some of the scenes with the acting coach, and I told him, that I was nervous, about kind of that responsibility that had been, I was blessed with. And he was like, don't ever tell anybody else what you just told me, especially not that poor director that just hired you. He was like, do not show up on day one of that job and tell her you're scared. He was like, you just do your lines the way you just did them for me. It's naturally, as freely, and do not make her regret taking this chance on you. And so that's the last time I ever really said it out loud. And but we were all, we were Christine and Michael were crazy to cast us, and we believed in them for believing in us. And, the Lord really blessed us all.
Yeah.
And Terron, obviously, Renee brings you in. And what was it like for you, coming in, being recommended, and then getting the role?
Well, I had a job. I was supposed to go do Jesus Christ Superstar on Broadway, and that was going to be my first Broadway show. So I read the script. I loved the script, and I identify with things that elevate Black people, and working with Christine and Michael, and I just thought Broadway could be a thing that I could do later, but this opportunity to star in this film with music and this script was something that I don't think I could pass up. So I jumped into it. I always talk about Renee and I because we were really close friends. We're like brother and sister. So to have to do this,
it was weird.
Yeah, I mean, we had to really commit that, or it would not. And so when we get all the notices that people see the chemistry, it's really fascinating because, of course, we have to act our parts. But
I wasn't acting that hard, Terron, to be in love with you. It wasn't that hard for me personally.
No, it wasn't hard, but I'm just saying we really had to.
I had
to we had to commit. But it was an honor to do it. It was an honor.
Now let's talk about the songs. Obviously, Christine mentioned that you lost the rights to some of the songs. So how long did it take for Terron to put it together, to bring in, 3 or 4 songs to this movie and then, meshing it so it can work well?
It was both Renee and Terron.
Yeah, we both.
Renee and
Terron.
They have to.
I wrote songs too, Wilson.
No, Renee wrote songs. I think we submitted songs that we had. already, and then we wrote fairly quickly the song that you heard, which is another great opportunity. We didn't know that was going to be even part of the deal, to be able to be in the movie, star in the movie, sing for real, and then write. It's an extraordinary chance for both of us. But I think it was very quick. We identified with the story, the characters, and some of the songs that Renée already had written are in the film. And I think people were surprised because she wasn't really a singer, Nicole, in the film, but Renée is such a beautiful singer in real life. But
it's an interesting thing because we were that's kind of what we actually were doing. Actually, acting was not our first job. Terron and I both were singers and songwriters, and we had bands, and they took this chance on us for actors. And then at the end of the day, that's just kind of the beauty of Christine and Michael. They're like they just are very sensitive and very supportive of talented people. They just collect them and do everything they possibly can to give them a platform. They've always been that way. And so they were kind of like, anything y'all can do, come on and do it. And bring your friends. So we have, all of our friends that are songwriters all written songs for this movie.
That's true.
So Mike, obviously with these two leads, then you cast them with Debbie Allen and Lou Myers, and Chris Brisson wasn't that big at that time, but you got Tico Wells, who was in the Five Harpies, and I'm, why isn't he singing? And you have obviously Ray, folks who were maybe out 3 or 4 years earlier films, but weren't big then. But look at them now. Can you talk about, like, once you had these two, bringing in the rest of the cast, including Debbie Allen?
Well, I always wanted to cast the right person for the role, and not like the biggest person. Like it's not as exciting to me, like to go big. I think it's more exciting to go special. And so that's what I was always looking for when casting the two lead roles. And when Renée, seriously, when she walked into the audition room, and we had seen probably like 100 other women at that point, and nobody rose to the level of special, in my personal opinion, until Renée walked in, and I was like, that's her. And I think I made the decision before figuring out if she could sing or not. But I knew, I'm like, she has to be able to sing. I think we asked her that second. We're like, by the way, can you sing? And can you sing something right now? So someone just asked, what was the Anita Baker song? I always forget, Renée. What was the song?
Anybody that's on this chat that knows me knows what it is, because it's what I sing forever. To this day, is what I sing.
We own, girl. We own. I know.
It's been so long. I'm missing you, baby. It's been so long. I couldn't get the title in my head. Yeah. I sang that anywhere I went, anywhere they would hear me, I would sing that song and try to get something going. And thank God it worked for Christine and Michael.
Go ahead.
We love us some Anita Baker too.
Because I'm from Detroit.
Now, during the set, which scene was the most fun to shoot? Obviously you're shooting this, and some scenes take longer than the others. But which scene do you remember best?
You guys go first. I have something so hard.
Are we allowed to say what we did on the San Francisco Bridge? And
no,
that was.
It's 20 years later, Terron.
Yeah. Okay. That was just so much fun, stealing those scenes on the San Francisco.
Stealing those scenes.
Yeah.
In that car. That was a beautiful day.
So what Terron is talking about, we had Renée and Terron driving the Jag, and we had our director of photography in the back seat under a blanket. And Christine and I and some of our other department heads were in a passenger van behind the Jag, and we had walkies. So we cleared the booth of the bridge, and as soon as they drove by, the DP gets out of the blanket, and then we start shooting, and we totally stole that shot across the Golden Gate Bridge. Yeah. So this is an independent film. You have to kind of think outside of the box and do creative like that to add production value to the movie.
I think and
I'm thinking of the wedding scene. Go ahead, Renée.
Oh no, I was going to say it's hard to choose because that wedding scene is so beautiful too. It just there were moments. This is the first thing and one of the most special things I've ever even still done in my life. And so it's always felt when we actually pulled the stuff off, like, you know, the Lord had already kind of written it for us in heaven, and that we were just kind of showing up every day, and we'd be like, oh, this is what he has for us today. I think if I had to pick one thing, I would probably say any of those scenes at Toomey's. You know, any of those scenes with all of those beautiful actors. I mean, Lou, Chris, Spencer, Tico. I mean, they were just so funny all the time. And just being in that room, you know, it was always my dream that we would spin off into a television show called Toomey's. Just to like be able to have musical guests come on and just, you know, be sitting there, because I thought that set was beautiful, and they just let us play in those scenes.
You know, going back to the wedding scene, the first thing I said was, we got the SOS band. They got the rights for that. And I go, looking at all those extras in that wedding scene, you're mentioning an independent film. You don't see that many people in an independent film in that one scene. How did you pull that off?
Well, we did have an extras budget.
I know.
So, you know, we had a lot of background come. And then let me give it a shout out to Nicole Avon and Clarence Avon because they helped us. Clarence Avon, Mr. Avon has the publishing for that song, Saturday Love, and also Take Your Time, Do It Right. So we were able to use those songs from their catalogs. But we were, you know, again, it's an independent film, but our goal from the beginning was to make it high quality as possible, and not to cut corners and present lush environments. We wanted to, San Francisco was a character in this film, Napa Valley was a character. So it was really important that although this was an independent film, it didn't look like a typical independent film. And that was really important for us.
Christine, can you talk about the comedy aspect in it? You know, you look at Toomey's and you'll see Chris and Tico. It's not easy to write comedy and make it work so that the audience, you know, like myself, is watching and making it, you know, and laughing. You know, can you talk about bringing in that aspect in around the story?
In those situations, you just have to cast well. So Chris was just funny, and you just moved out of his way, and you were like, "Go!" Like that. His whole stand-up, that was his writing, not me. I was like, "Chris, you're gonna stand up here and say something funny. Think about that, and I'll come back to you." That was all him and those jokes, and he just kind of honed them and made them work. And then just the chemistry with all of the actors, with Tico Wells and Lou Myers, it was just nonstop bubbly.
Yeah.
And my job was just to capture that, you know.
And Christine not giving herself justice. Because Christine actually, she did cast brilliantly in terms of those people and how wonderful they were. But she also found humor that we did not know that was there. I mean, one of the funniest moments in this movie is that scene where the football players. I forgot to mention Rahman.
Yes.
Yeah, he is brilliantly. He's so funny. That was one of his first. Was this like his first big job?
I think so.
That kid showed up. I was like, let me just sit down and watch this kid for a minute.
He got that Benjamin Button look. He has not aged.
Oh God!
I was like, oh, he still looks the same. You know,
some of those scenes. Some of that humor was just Christine kind of taking advantage of like this group of people in these moments and really milking it, and just like that $1 bill moment. I mean, that's so brilliant.
Yeah.
So when you're letting the guys come in and bring in their comedy sketches, and then you got these two singers and bringing in the songs, at what point did it say to you, okay, let me put this here, let me put this there, and I think it can work? How long did it take when you got everything together?
Oh no, it was working day one. Like it was, we knew we had something special right away. And what happens when everyone feels like a part of the team, everyone contributes in the biggest ways. And I think that's part of what really made it even more special, is people took ownership of it in a way where everybody wanted it to succeed. And we had a lot of obstacles in front of us, behind us, beside us. And every one of them, we just kind of hurled them and just kept it moving. So I never thought it wouldn't work. And
when we had those hurdles in front of us, the four of us would often get together and pray.
Yes, we did.
On our set.
We did.
You know, the film played at festivals. It still plays now. It's 20 plus years later. How does it feel knowing that your first big project, you know, for you as a director of feature film, and for the both of you, first big roles, is still talked about today. Each of them obviously have gone on to do different things, different platforms, but to know that people will remember this film, and this was your first big project. Each one of you can answer that. Renée, Terron, like when you know that, like, you've achieved fame elsewhere, but people will say, I still remember you in this movie.
Yeah.
You go first, Terron.
Well, I was just going to say, I think part of the ease of the movie was there was a higher purpose. I felt like it was work, but we felt like it was a higher purpose, which we didn't know until now. All of the response and the people getting married to the music, or saying, many women saying, I was going to hold out and find a Brian, or thank you for showing this kind of love. So I'm just proud because we didn't really know the steps and what was going to happen, but we believed what we were doing in that moment could affect some people. And so that's what blesses me the most, because anything that we do as artists, we want people to enjoy it, buy it, but also receive it. And for people to actually really identify with the characters and the lines and make it a part of their lives. I want to find a Brian. I want to learn from Nicole and find the strength in this. I think that's the biggest compliment,
For me, one time, I live in New York City, and after I had already done Hamilton, a bunch of stuff, but I got on a busy subway train in the morning, during the morning commute, and I got in a very packed car, and then the whole train shut down. Everybody was like, oh, like everybody starts freaking out, and then the train driver gets out of the front thing in the train, in the subway, and comes up to me in the subway car, and she was like, Nicole. What's all about you, right? And like this whole pack full of like New York communities, they were like, they were like, who are you? And like totally mad. And I'm like, I see you. And then I'm like, can we just get really going, lady? So it definitely, like, surprisingly had like a beautiful impact on so many people, and that makes me just kind of so humbled and proud. And I think the greatest impact for me is just the confidence I took from it. Like, if no one had ever seen this movie and it didn't do all the wonderful things that it did, I know that I love it. I know that when I see it, I believe myself. I know that these people that I have such great respect for still believe in me after they made that decision. And that is the confidence that fuels me to this day. It just taught me that I could actually do this. I could actually be an actress at that level. I could actually, Black women don't get that, especially Black women that were not, already stars. For her to give me that, for them to give me that, was something that I just take into any room that I ever go into for the rest of my life. It's a gift that's invaluable.
Michael, Christine.
I look at this movie, and it's just, I just see God's hand all over it, and it's a constant reminder to me to just, be calm, because sometimes you don't know things unless you see it in reverse. And watching this in reverse, I see everything that God was doing in ways that I could not see or understand. So I always look at it as a testimony to like God's grace on my life, and allowing me to do something that it was so remarkable to me in the moment, but in many ways has stood the test of time, and still fuels me to keep doing things like this, because it works, it's necessary, and people actually love it.
When I look at our experience of producing this film, this was our first feature film, and of course you go into any project and you want it to be bigger than life and do so well and break records and all those things. And so I personally had an expectation for this film, and looking back, I had to change my perspective about the film, because it didn't break all of these financial records. It did well, it made its money back, but more importantly, how it connected with people's hearts and the friendships, these lifelong friendships that we've developed, and how even just looking at these comments here on the screen, it has really impacted people in such a great way that it made me understand that there's different types of quote unquote success. And that is what I've taken with me since that moment on. I mean, I didn't know it in the time, but looking back, I mean, that's the wisdom that I walked away from producing this film.
It's to me, my most successful film in all the right ways, Wilson, to this day. So I don't. It's success like personified. Look at us, like we're friends today. It's a 20-year-long friendship. So that is success personified, and you cannot quantify that.
And I want to add, I don't know who's watching or paying attention, but most of my experiences are with the Temptations and with this, really God putting his hand and saying, it's you, or it's you, or it's you. And so if anybody's aspiring to do anything or have a dream and finding difficult making it or breaking in or whatever, just remember that God has a plan that supersedes anybody's plan. And when he says it's your time, he'll point to you. And I remember Christine and Michael really saying to me, you are a star, just nobody knows it yet, And what a special thing to say, or just to have the belief in me that gave me the wings to show up in the way that I could too. But it's definitely encouraging to know to keep in the journey, and what's for you will be for you, and it will surprise you at times.
Now, that's the thing. That's the beauty of what you just mentioned. I think if people when you look at a lot of the black films people love, they don't necessarily make box office hits. And the fact that we remember it just like we're remembering this film 20 years now, still later, that's the testimony of good writing, good storytelling. And I guess as filmmakers and actors, that's what you want. You're not going to be paying attention to the numbers, especially 20 years goes by. Like you said, somebody remembers you on a train, and they're pulling out these stories of like, hey, I did something well enough that somebody still remembers, not for the other thing that the whole world knows me of, and that's the beauty of it. Now, a lot of the comments I've been reading about is now you guys did a follow-up, and I follow up because you did a follow-up to this movie in a way called All About You, but a lot of people want to know, can a sequel with these characters be done, or you want to leave it as it is?
Well, that's a discussion worth having. I know people get caught up in nostalgia and they think sequel, but sometimes I'm like, just leave it alone. But at the same time, anybody comes with me with the budget, I'll write a sequel, and we can ask Renee and Terron what they want to do, and if Michael wants to produce it, we're game. We're game. So I'm game. I can write anything. So let's see.
And I haven't said it before, but Christine, congratulations on the success of the Clark sisters. A lot of people saw it that Saturday night a few weeks back, So from 20 years then to now, you still got your game going. Hopefully you'll get some accolades by, the different committees that talk about this stuff. Renée, Terron, can you share what you guys are currently doing now besides being homebound?
We're all homeschooling, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we're being parents.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out what it's going to be to kind of be a part of a live stream of Hamilton on July 3rd, and how to promote that. That's kind of the exciting new development that kind of came out of nowhere last week. But the beauty is kind of being able to kind of join with these, I think what we're doing right now is doing a lot of connecting the dots of our life. And this one is probably one of the most special. Lord, Michael, the reason I'm called Renée Elise Goldsberry is because of Michael Swanson. You know this, Michael. He literally came to me one day and he said, what do you want your name to be? And I was like, what? He's like, your name, what should I put down as your name? I'm like, my name is Renée Elise Goldsberry, right? And he wrote down for like my SAG official name, Renée Elise Goldsberry. Everybody's like, why you got 3 names? And I'm thinking, Michael Swanson, you didn't explain what we was doing. Like, when I think of, spending that time with Christine and Michael, and this was the beginning of their starting their family. I think as soon as they finished shooting, they let us know they were pregnant with their first son. Just spending that time in the ministry that they are, as in their marriages. And Terron, the time I spent with Terron, my really good friend, was the reason why I was wise enough to marry my husband. They just really set the foundation for my life in ways that are even much greater than a career. And I think that's the most important. I don't know, maybe Terron, you said this to me. We're not building careers, but we're doing it. We're in ministry is what we're doing, right? And they're really good examples of that for me.
Yeah, I think this time for me is a time of pause. I had some things that I was starting, but to take a pause and reevaluate. In no way am I quitting the business or stopping singing or writing, because I am in the process of writing a lot and learning to play the piano and doing some things. But it's great to take a pause and kind of recenter yourself and say, is what I'm doing, does it matter? Can I be open to something brand new that I may have not looked at before? And I'm really spending that time and trying to not reimagine myself, but just check and say, hey, if there's something new, if there's something I'm scared to do, and this pause gives me the opportunity to create maybe something different. So I'm excited about that.
Terron, talk about your awesome album.
Oh, well, yeah. My last record is called Missoula Broadway. I did a record taking Broadway songs that we love and reimagining the songs to kind of fit my own story. So taking them out of the context of a Broadway show and just saying, what if I sang Annie, the sun will come out tomorrow? With my story, we created a show that debuted in November, and we were just getting ready to go all over with it. And then the pandemic started, but you can get that on iTunes. But I'm very proud of the album. I love writing and I love reimagining things. And so this record, it's kind of the soul of Broadway for people. I know a lot of people that don't love Broadway songs, but
love this one.
It's amazing, and my kids have reminded me for playing it too much, Terron.
Yeah, I'm proud of it. Yeah. So we're still
I was gonna say, before we wrap up, I want to give thanks to Damian D. Smith. He's a filmmaker whose company 4910 Rosalie Productions helped put this together. So I want to give him some shout outs. And at the same time, a lot of people want to know if Renee and Terron can sing a song, any song from the movie right now live.
I was a sad and lonely somebody. My heart, my soul was drifting now. That I finally see it's not about me. A storm is lifting and the day is all shiny and new. 'Cause I'm about you. Everything I feel is you. Everything is real is you. Everything within my view. All I see is you. Everything good that I do. Everything right I do. Wanna spend my whole life through with you. With you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Christine, I'll let you have the last word. Anything else you want to say?
I would say to everyone who enjoys like seeing us on the screen, big screen, little screen like this, keep supporting the works of people that you love, and keep asking for and demanding good content regarding stories about us, because it's possible and it's sustainable, it's profitable, and we're here. The talent is here. It's very important. Now that we have families, we want them also to have a view of everything that is real about us as a people and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Folks, Renee Elise Goldsberry, Terron Brooks, Michael Swanson, Christine Swanson, we thank you. I think the audience thanks you. Hopefully we can do this again on another project, each one of you separately, together. Like I say, is have a good night. Stay safe.
Wait, first we have
Homebound.
to say thank you, Wilson.
Thank you
so much.
Wilson.
Thank you for showing up for us every time, everywhere. I'm telling you,
Yes.
whoever you
I
are, if you
promote
got a
this
black
movie.
dude, he gonna show up.
Every
And
Valentine's
happy
Day,
anniversary.
I promote this movie every Valentine's Day.
That's
Thank
right.
I'll continue
you,
to do
Wilson.
so.
Happy anniversary, guys.
Take care.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.